The following is a video tribute to the life and the memory of Karen. The pictures and the audio were contributed by family and by close friends.
In early 1947, Mother informed us that we were about to have a new sibling, and all of us were in our teens. I was almost 15. I was the youngest of four. We were very excited. I thought Mother was way too old for this kind of thing. She was, after all, 40 years old. But we were looking forward to this event. She went down to Minot to stay with her sister in late November because the weather, one never knew what the weather would be like in North Dakota, and we didn't have a telephone and so on. So she stayed in Minot, and Dad came home to be with us. And then on the 20th of November, he got up very early. We all did. We made breakfast for him, and he headed for Minot. We were listening to the radio, which was our only form of entertainment at the time, and all one could hear on the radio was the wedding of Princess Elizabeth and Prince Philip. Of course, it was about 7 hours later in England. We went on the bus to school, and when we got there, Darley, who was teaching there, had heard the night before from Linnea, I assume, that Karen Jo was born. So we found out after we got to school. When Dad brought Karen and Mother home, we had her in a bassinet in the living room, and we were all lined up around the bassinet staring at this precious child. And our dog Burp was standing right in the row with us, just absolutely excited about all of this activity.
Karen had one older brother, Billy, and three older sisters, Darlene, Jean, and Della. This is a special memory sent by her older sister, Jean.
I was 16 when Karen was born. She was only 2 when Jerry and I were married and moved to Oregon. I missed all my family, but the one I missed most of all was little Karen Jo.
Willis and Darlene loved to have little Karen Jo come and stay with them, and we always enjoyed hearing the stories from those times. But one of our favorite was one that they shared about working on a jigsaw puzzle, and Karen was little enough that she was standing on the chair and watching the progress as they worked on the puzzle, and all of a sudden she reached out and picked up a piece and exclaimed, "Why, there it is!" And they were so startled, and then she turned and looked at the piece of puzzle, and she looked at them and she said, "And now where does it go?" And so I don't think that we, Kim, Kent, or I, will ever put together a jigsaw puzzle, but what we don't think of little Karen Jo saying that cute little saying and remembering that story of her.
Hi, this is Carol Taylor. My maiden name is Jungren, and I am a first cousin of Karen's. And we were very close in age, and so we spent a lot of time together growing up. And one of the things I remember is when we started school. I was in first grade and she was in second grade, and we were in the old schoolhouse, which was where the city park is now. Anyway, we started school, and we really, really liked school. So we started playing school with my little sister Nadine and teaching her everything that we were learning. So we had our Dick and Jane books, and we were teaching her how to read and the alphabet and numbers and all the things that we were learning. And when she went to start school, she was very bored. She didn't like it. The school board and the teachers actually went to our parents and suggested that she skip first grade, and they put her right into second grade. But they didn't do that. They kept her in first grade. So in order to get her to stay there, Karen and I had to take turns sitting in her classroom with her so that she would stay in school. So we always kind of got a laugh out of that and thought, oh, we must have really been pretty good teachers because we played school with her so much, and she just learned everything she needed to know to be in that classroom. So we had to take turns sitting with her in order to keep her in school. So that was one of the things I remember about our younger years.
I remember Jack and Elsie and Karen, wherever they went, I always got to go with. And I thought that was such a blessing because they took me everywhere they went.
My Aunt Karen was just 10 years older than me, so she was a teenager when I was a little girl. And every time we visited North Dakota in the summer, I would follow her around. She took me cruising down the main street of Lignite back and forth in her car, and I talked her into going to the movies with her and her friend, and it ended up being scary, and I had nightmares. And I got to take my very first bus ride alone to Minot when she was working there. I really thought she was cool.
Hi, this is Carol Taylor. Another little story I wanted to share was after Karen and I graduated from high school, we both went to Minot State College for a time. And then we went on to get our first full-time job, which was in 1967. And we decided to get a place together to stay and found an apartment above the old Tollefson's furniture store, which was on 1st Street, one block off of Main Street. There were 4 apartments up there, and so we got a 1-bedroom furnished apartment for $75 a month. That was the total. We split that. So it was $37.50 each. And when we got the place, my mom came down and painted the little kitchen and bathroom and helped us clean it up real good. And it was a really cute little apartment that we had. Now, Karen was working for the phone company, and I was working for Watney Realty. Neither of us had a car, so we had to walk everywhere we went. We walked to work and walked home for lunch sometimes, or wherever, walked to the grocery store, walked for whatever we were doing. And in the wintertime, of course, it was pretty cold. So right across the street was the Clarence Parker Hotel, big, huge hotel in town. So we used to cut through the lobby. We'd go across the street, go in the lobby of the Clarence Parker, and cut through there and come out the other side, because we both worked on the other side of Main Street. Karen's hours fluctuated a little bit, and mine, every other weekend I had to work half day and stuff. But we had some really, really fun times there. We got to meet a lot of people and had some real good times together. And that's where we lived when Karen met Gary, Lisa's dad.
Kim Swenson again, remembering Grandma Campbell telling us many times in her later years as we'd visit her of what a beautiful baby Lisa was, and a cute little girl she had become. And she remembered much of what she did when she stayed with Karen and Lisa in Florida. Dad had a story that he talked about was when Lisa could walk right under the kitchen table without hitting it.
Lisa shares a special memory that she has of her mother that was when she was about 12 years of age, and Karen was trying to talk her into going to a camp for children with diabetes. And Lisa wanted no part of that camp until she saw her mother pulling up in the driveway with a brand new red Trans Am that she had rented to drive Lisa to the camp. Needless to say, Lisa got in the fancy car and Karen drove her off to the diabetes camp. Lisa also shared that her mother, Karen, was always thinking of what would be best for her daughter, Lisa. Here's another short recording of a special memory from Karen's good friend, Donna.
I remember the first time I went to Disney World with Karen and Lisa. First place, Lisa wanted to go with Space Mountain. What a ride. Lisa didn't get me on it again.
Now you will see several years of Christmas photos while Della shares some memory.
Lisa and Karen came to Washington for Christmas a number of years, and each time Lisa was hoping that she would see snow, as she had never seen it. And I think around 1988, she would have been about 19, they came and we went to the White House and walked all over downtown, and we had lots and lots of snow. I think she was rather cold and almost wishing perhaps that she hadn't seen her first snow, but it was fun. In early 1990s, probably 92 or so, I started going down to Florida for Christmas, and I'd usually go early so that I could do some Harriet Homemaker tasks like fix the bathroom or put in a new floor or whatever. That was when I really got to know Elmer, Lisa's grandfather, Karen's father-in-law. He was a very dear person. if I needed a tool or anything, if he didn't have it, he would go to his sons and get me the tool because they both were cabinet makers at one time. And he was also always there for Karen and Lisa. If they had a hurricane warnings or anything like that, he was there to help them put up the boards over the windows and so on. At Christmas, originally when Emily, Lisa's grandmother, was living, Lisa would make hors d'oeuvres over at their place for Christmas Eve, but then Christmas Day was always at Karen's house, and it was unbelievable. The whole room was covered with gifts. I think Lisa probably started buying the day after Christmas and continued throughout the year. So we not only had all of these gifts, we had huge socks, each of us to open too. And Elmer would come over on Christmas morning and we'd just sit there and enjoy the conversation.
Hi, this is Carol Taylor again. I have one more story to share about Cecil and Kella Hopkins. The four of us, Karen, Donna, Nadine, and I, wanted to go to the movies in Columbus on Sunday evening. And Kella and Cecil drove there every Sunday, and they said that we could ride with them. But we had to be there at 6 o'clock. Now, I think the movie started at 7:30 every Sunday night, but in order to get there, we were going to leave their place at 6 o'clock. Kella drove, and she would back their car out of the garage, and Cecil would help her, guide her out so she'd get out of the garage, and then the four of us would pile into the back seat. Now, we would just kind of motor along on our way from Lignite to Columbus, and it seemed like we were going about 10 or 15 miles an hour, but I'm sure it was probably 40. But even so, it took us a while to get there. And everybody was passing us up along the way, and sometimes we'd be a little embarrassed back there. You know, we were kind of ducking down. We were in the back seat, but we were getting to the movies. And so that's what we did on Sunday evening. We'd get there a little early, so sometimes we'd hang out at the drugstore next door or something. And I think, if I'm remembering right, the movie was either 10 or 15 cents to go to a movie back then. And those were some really fun memories for us, too.
This is Diane. Karen was able to come back to North Dakota several times for birthdays and reunions. She always seemed to have trouble at the Detroit airport, which became a joke to us, but she managed to get here and have a good time, and we sure appreciated that.
I'm sure all the family and friends have special memories of the times that we got together with Karen and having her present. And those special memories for me were when we had the reunions in North Dakota, especially in 1992 and 1997, when all the family got together. There's a picture here of them posed in front of the old truck that was the same year as Grandma, so we thought it was kind of neat to take a picture with her. But one of the things that I remember especially was the time that we had the Barnyard Olympics as part of the family reunion. And of course, who can forget the watermelon seed spitting contest with John and my dad Willis just giving it their all. And of course, the sack races were a highlight. And I remember especially Lisa participating in those sack races, and Karen over there, she wasn't sure if she was more worried or just having more fun, but she laughed and laughed. And then we also had the backseat driving contest with the lawnmower and the trailer behind, and Lisa and Kent participating in that, and again, just watching Karen just enjoy that so wholeheartedly. And so those were very special memories of times when Karen and Lisa both were able to come to the farm together. Here is another special memory from Karen's longtime friend Donna.
Karen and I have spent so many years together. We went to school together all through school, and we always kept in contact ever since we've been out of school. She went off to Florida. We had kids, and we always corresponded throughout the years for birthdays and Christmases. You know, there's so many things that I could say that I could write a book, because Karen and I have always been friends.
Karen's childhood friends, Lavina and Patsy, also shared some photos and some memories for this video. Patsy remembers that Karen was a special help to her when she was going through a difficult time in her life and appreciated her phone calls very much. Lavina remembers especially the reunion that they had in 1991 that was in Minot. She said it was such a great time to get together with the old gang. They had lots of laughs and really no sleep. Lavina also shared, Karen and I were good friends and shared many happy memories. We were roommates for one semester at Minot College and had to have matching bedspreads, matching lamps, etc. It was a lot of fun. Lavina also shares, I will really miss my good friend Karen.
Hi, this is Carol Taylor again. Another memory that I have with Karen is how we used to go to Hopkins Cafe all the time. It was actually like a little candy shop mainly, but it had a little counter on one side with 3 or 4 stools, and then had the booth on the other side, and the middle was the big glass counter with all the candy in it and the candy jars on the top and this kind of thing. And I do remember Grandpa Jungren used to go there for coffee. So anyway, we used to go, our family would go to Lignite. We'd go to town on Saturday night because the store was open and go grocery shopping. And so us kids would go to Hopkins Cafe, and that was Karen and Donna Wadman Fagerland and Nadine and I. And we go sit in the booth in there, and we'd have about 10 cents to spend. And the Coke machine in there was a nickel. So we could get a bottle of Coke or pop for a nickel, and then we still had a nickel to spend. And we do really good at that because they had penny candy. It was 2 for a penny. So we could actually get a lot of candy and have a pretty good amount of candy and a bottle of Coke for our 10 cents. And we'd sit in that little booth in there, and we'd giggle and laugh. And